Welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week, we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 107, Devoutness and Dicks.
Yes.
Basically picked up almost where we left off with the horde separation.
Yeah, well, first thing, always open with a poop joke. And I was half to 2/3 joking last week when I said we weren't going to see Traveler Con this week, but I was right.
Yeah. I have a similar prediction, but we'll get to that later. I love the interaction between Ford and Caduceus over the loot.
I love the whole thing. They go to get the bags, and Veth, the fellow mom separated from her child and husband, totally misses the fact that just says, but you'll get plenty of platinum and silver.
Yeah.
And pitches in 50 gold. Caduceus immediately, yeah, let's do that. Jester immediately, yeah, let's do that. Yasha, right on their, heels, million and even 200. Everybody stares down Travis and Marisha.
Yep.
Marisha caves. She's trying to play that, selfish street rat monk that she has. Ford, the lawful good one, puts up the biggest fight about it. The paladin of the people. Delia who? And Caleb almost gets away with it by pulling his early level trick of just fading into the background and shutting his goddamn mouth.
Yep. Even though he did say, he tried to make the argument because he caught the platinum and silver because he said it's included when the gratuity's included. So that's what his comment meant.
That's not what I took it as. I can see that, but I took it because he said that to Marisha as Marisha was caving in and saying, fine, I'll pitch in 50. And I thought he was referring to, so that 50 gold, you technically don't have to pay it. It's the tip. But everyone's looking at you, expecting you to pay it because it's already there. Is how I took it in my watching. So, it's one of those things. That tip, it's already on the bill, so you're kind of expected to pay it, and you look like a cheap ass when you don't. Everyone said, hey, pitch in 50.
Yeah, but he wasn't gonna.
Oh, no.
So a case of do as I say, not do as I do?
Aren't most lawful evil wizards that way?
Fair. But the discussion in earnest begins.
Yes.
Well, what the heck we're going to do? What's the plan? What's the goal? And Jester says we have to build a stage. Immediately I start laughing. Stage and Artagan don't generally go well together.
Well, you even made the joke about making an amphitheater last week, so.
Yeah. Bo says she's going to do a fight ring / dance floor.
Yes.
And
in a Venn diagram so that the craziest dancers are in the...
I think everyone had a different idea of those circles and their makeup.
I think so.
Because when she said it, the picture in my head was not a Venn diagram at all.
No, mine either.
So, the next week's art will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because I have a theory of how that's gonna play into things. But Jester gets flustered, and she says, "No, sound like Caduceus," because she's and Bo says, "Starting to sweat there," and very quietly in the background, nobody else heard it except Sam. Liam says that the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give Liam a shout out for his joke that nobody at the table gave credit to.
Yeah.
Jester brings up human sacrifices.
Yeah, which, arguably it's religion in its infancy. There's bound to be human sacrifices of some kind or another.
Yeah. But the yikes factor went up to 11 at that point. But they sort of brought it back to cutesy. Let's do arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Sam, that talks about Peter Fawn, audience participation.
Yeah.
And we get that the clap thing is a real thing.
Yeah. Now, if someone dies, do they attempt that in their resurrection ritual? If Veth is still around, yes.
So there is a possibility. You bring up resurrection, so I'm going to mention it now. And Ford mentions in this episode about going and getting Molly or asking Molly. And in theory, I think they can use Speak with Dead on his corpse.
Yes. Wound was through the chest. Unless his skull has been taken or damaged, yes.
But they also, I think, can do Raise Dead. Because I think that's up to a year.
But will they?
I don't know. If they did, it would almost be the equivalent to Sam leaving with Scanlan and coming in with Terry.
I think the way I see it split, I think that Caduceus, Ford, Caleb, possibly Bo will be against it. Jester, Veth, and possibly Yasha will be for it.
Fair.
Caleb could also go either way, but I'm pretty sure he'd be against it.
I don't know. It depends on how much they want the information and
True.
If they want to spend the money. But that would be it forces an interesting choice on Taliesin.
No, it doesn't.
You don't think so? You don't think he's...
He said Molly's done. Molly's story is... He said he's had no desire. He's not going to play Molly. If they do it, Molly will go off as an NPC. Which will sadden me, because, unlike you, Molly is my favorite of Taliesin's characters. I like all of the characters, but I wanted to see more of Molly.
Yeah, now I feel a little bit like Niska. But which one? Him. You didn't even hesitate. But I don't think he would choose to play Molly either, just because he had such difficulty finding Molly's voice.
Yeah, he hadn't
and
even.
Caduceus, he fell right into it.
Yeah, he hadn't even fully it felt like he was finally at the point where he had found it, but he hadn't fully settled into it.
Yeah.
When Molly died, it wasn't cemented. It was still just volatile enough to be changed again if it needed.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, back to this episode. Artagan says, "What about killing me?"
Yeah.
And Jester gets excited by the notion because that satisfies her goal of getting the Traveler all to herself, basically.
Well, the interesting thing to me is not so much Jester's excitement over getting him to herself, and I don't even think that's the real reason she was excited about it, because she even mentions, and multiple times throughout the episode, but also multiple times in this conversation, that will give them the chance to follow someone who really can help them. From the talk about the afterlife and stuff. She's already cemented in character that she knows worshiping the Traveler isn't going to do anything for anyone. And she wants those people, she doesn't want to rob those people of whatever the afterlife will hold by following a real God.
Yes, but that's not why she wants. That's not why she prefers that Artagan be killed. Because the end of this, that's the goal anyway.
Right.
But if he's dead, then they won't go looking for him.
That's true, but at the same time, that statement, that proposition of "what if I kill myself" is what led to the first comment about yes, because then they'd be free to serve real gods that would help them.
Yeah.
So it's got to have something to do with it.
I think that's just a nice side effect.
Okay.
I mean, it's the biggest thing that will ease her conscience.
Yeah.
But that leads the Traveler to. That leads the discussion to passing the divine buck. And.
Yeah.
Do we masquerade as the Moonweaver? Is it, have I been the Moonweaver all the time? Am I taking the place? Am I submitting? That conversation. And again, Liam with the quiet joke that nobody gets. Nobody laughed. Yeah,
I did.
Really. So did I. But no one at the table did. But he's like, you really take life by the throat and squeeze it for everything.
Yep, campaign 1 callback.
I think this episode's going to hold the record for that.
Yeah.
So much. But I think, ultimately, what I got out of that conversation with the Traveler is he doesn't want a religion or a faith. What he wants is a mystery cult. He wants an exclusive club. You have to be invited in. So,
the Order of the Golden Dawn.
Or the Masons.
Yeah. That
most people won't be familiar with. Or the Elks, although Elks is more of a fraternal organization and less a mystery cult, but the Masons have more of the mystery cult trappings.
Yeah.
So where the late Roman Republic, mid-Roman Empire, there were a lot of mystery cults. And yes, Talkinator, Matt did notice it and mentioned there was this one time and quickly got off, which led to the I hate the theater.
Yes.
You hate the theater? Asshole.
Yeah.
Which I'm telling you, that theater stage, they could cast banishment, and the stage is the thing that's his anathema.
Yeah.
But Veth pitches the magician's trick with planting someone in the audience
Yeah.
for the sacrifice for Yasha to pop her wings and then go. And she's like, I don't want to betray the Storm Lord.
Yeah.
Which was interesting to me. And I think that feeds into the fact that she doesn't know why she has her wings.
Yeah. And can they be taken away again?
Yeah. Well, presumably, if they can be granted, they can be taken away, because in theory they were already.
Yeah.
But she didn't offer them an alternative, which is to actually kill her.
You and your Zella barbarian fetish again?
Yes. She can be brought back without expending material components.
Yes, this is true.
Now, how bad would they feel if they killed because it's not automatic in Matt's campaigns for resurrection magic to work?
And it failed.
And it failed, yeah.
Yeah.
But
that could be. Yeah, that is the big takeaway. The other things we get, Caduceus' religious philosophies. Can't have a world full of carpenters, you know.
Yeah.
It's a place for all the religions, kind of almost a Baha'i type philosophy towards religion.
Strictly speaking, a true polytheistic viewpoint.
True. Yeah.
Where most of us, especially here in America, our mindset is monotheistic and biased in that direction.
Yeah.
In the way that we think about things.
Yep.
Yeah.
We also get Veth falling back on what she hasn't done in a while, her alchemy background, in describing how glue is made. Ish. She boils some horses.
Well, yeah, Sam asked the question. And the two most common glues, and it doesn't have to be, it's hide and pine tar.
Yeah.
Pitch. And yeah, you basically boil hide to get hide glue.
It reminded me of a meme that I love. It's the one of the old painting of the two guys sitting at the bar, obviously drunk talking. And the one guy's like, it's the invention of glue. And then the guy goes, I bet if we melted some horses, we could stick stuff to other stuff. And the other dude's just, is everything okay at home? The comment and the interaction with Taliesin and Sam just made me think of that meme, and I really enjoyed that moment.
I think a lot of early human discovery was we left the pot on too long.
Probably.
Or we buried it and forgot about it.
Well, I'm convinced most food is based on a dare.
Well, and my theory that all medicinal plants, we said they were medicinal because they tasted so bad. Like garlic and onion. Like, not particularly pleasant to pull out of the ground and eat that raw.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't kill me. Oh, maybe it's medicine. Yeah. But,
we digress.
Yes. We get both, well, there were so many ideas flying around. But the endurance dance party.
That started Sam's idea.
Yeah. The dick hunt.
The dick hunt. The dick drumsticks.
Yes.
Beating your dick for a week versus beating your dick for an afternoon.
There's an exchange between Artagan and Jester when it's brought up that, well, how does Jester feel about being the spokesperson on the material plane? Are you okay with that? And Ford says, yeah, but you can send messages to people anywhere all over the world. Couldn't they do that to you? And she's like, well, I don't know. And the traveler's like, well, I have taught other people that. And she gets angry, and he's like, and he takes it away. Done. And then she says, oh my God, that felt so good. And that's why I say she's not concerned about their well-being, per se. But they settle on the traveler has been the Moonweaver this whole time.
Yes.
So when Traveler Con happens, I'm waiting for Jester with a gun pointed at Artagan. Or Artagan pointing the gun at Jester maybe might make more sense. But I was the Moonweaver the whole time. If we're talking memes.
Yes.
You're
the Moonweaver? Always have been.
Yep. And then the final thing, Moon the Moonweaver.
Yep.
I don't know if that will make it through or not.
No. That's one of those jokes they may reference again, but they don't actually do. In-game.
Well, they've already talked about sunning their taint.
Yeah.
And how certain members of the Cobalt Soul do that.
True.
Or certain monks. I don't remember if it was specifically the Cobalt Soul. But yeah. Vilya opens her travel agency.
Yep.
Tells them where she's sending people.
Mm-hmm.
And that she used scrying to find a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a stretch? Or do you think that's kosher?
I would have to reread the spell. It's probably a stretch. But seeing as though it's an NPC doing the stretching, I'm more okay with it.
Okay, fair.
You know, I'm not saying it's too far of a stretch for a PC, but I'm more comfortable with an NPC making that reach for things that aren't. It's strictly a narrative stretch. It's nothing that's going to, unless they use it as precedent, but be beneficial or detrimental to the party into the main story. It's just a throwaway narrative piece to get people where they need to go.
Does Caleb use that later for teleportation?
If anybody does, it's Caleb.
Yeah. But she says the east side of Taldore, near the mountain range, near the base of the mountain range where she is from.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Daxios?
Possibly.
Or, because my first thought was Iman, but...
That's a little too far south from the mountain range.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if we're going to go with a known city, it's probably Daxio. Or just outside, you know.
Yeah.
The fort, you know.
Or Craghammer, maybe?
No.
Because Craghammer's in that same mountain range.
It's in the same mountain range. But I think it's either directly south or a little southwest from Zephyr, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I looked at the map.
Yeah, I think it's southwest.
So if it's...
But it would still technically be east side of Taldore, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I think more likely spot is going to be Fort Daxio. Because anyone not going into the mountain range somewhere, it's going to be easier to put them at Fort Daxio, which is at the edge of the mountain range, and so they don't have to go through the mountains.
Yeah.
If they don't have to.
Sure.
And we had this discussion about Fort, and I was right. He's not done with the whole Sabian Vandran thing.
Yeah. Hires Kotho. Message in a month is what he's expecting.
Via magic.
So we'll see.
A month, so that's going to be what? Another 6 months? Our time? And most of the time they only go through a day or two a session.
Yeah, maybe. Unless he gives downtime.
Yeah.
But I doubt that's going to happen. There's too much on the plate that needs to be done for there to be downtime like that. She also mentions Marquette, which is our Campaign 3 location.
Yeah. The most likely one.
Yeah. Asarius, Zadash, and the Menagerie Coast. And the moment that made me rage the most in the episode, when they ask her if she's reached out to her family.
Mm-hmm.
Delia says no, that she's nervous and she doesn't think she has the means. Because druids get animal messenger, but the animal will only be under the effect of the spell for 24 hours.
Right.
So nothing's going to cross that distance in that time. Jester says, I can send a message for you. And Vilya says, no.
Yeah.
I was like, what? No! She has to talk to Keelan.
She will. But that made sense.
I'm not saying it didn't make sense. I'm saying I was raging at my TV.
Fair. When she was like, I could send this message, I was like, oh, it's going to happen. I said it. She's going to message. Matt's going to look at Marisha. How does Keelan? And then she said no. I was like, okay, that makes sense. I was like, because in my mind, especially now that Vila's gone, she's still going to be sending messages. And we're still going to end up getting something.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get into that
in a bit.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to make the accusation, but it seems damn convenient that Caleb has and prepared all of the spells that can do everything to make TravelerCon happen. He can make statues. He can make the stage. He can shape the amphitheaters. He can do the illusions.
He's crushing on Jester. Why wouldn't he prepare that set of spells for that day?
But I mean, I'm not even talking about just like the preparation makes sense. But what I'm saying is, he made the choice to add those spells to his spell book on his level up. Did Widow just have anything to do with that? That's the accusation that I'm making.
Oh, yeah.
Or not making, as the case may be.
Yeah. Again, he's got a crush on Jester.
Oh, man. And so much of this episode. So, somebody did a supercut of Vex and Percy.
Mm-hmm.
And it all started when Percy made her gifts.
Mm.
All the special arrows that he would make for her.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And in this episode, Caleb is doing all these things.
Yeah.
And I saw the same look in Jester that you saw in Vex.
Yeah.
The
the way to Laura Bailey's character's heart start with.
Yeah.
So we get the statues, we get the archway with the fireworks and the little jester fairy that ends up shooting off in the. Is it more likely they get sponsored or sued by Disney?
I don't know. I don't know. I imagine, if anything, Disney will try to buy them.
Then Caleb can be an Avenger.
Just because Disney tries to buy everything,
Yes.
genre, and their Kickstarter raised $11 million.
Yeah.
So, if Disney can try to buy it, they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Neither will happen. The sponsor or the suing.
But Caleb is definitely the Imagineer.
Yes.
This episode, for sure.
Well, and he's kind of been on that kick lately, ever since, in the Dome, the Jade show, and, he's...
Which was the same spell.
Yeah.
Which means there's still those illusions floating around on that beach in front of the...
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory. Yeah, because it's indefinite.
Until the spell.
Yep.
Which I can also see Caleb dispelling before they went through the tree.
Yeah.
And he certainly had the spell slots available to do so. So I'm not like that's definitely still there, because it could have been literally hand waved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just kind of taken a hard turn towards that aspect.
Well, I think it's because it's of his repertoire, it is the least destructive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next big thing to happen was Matt clarifying his exposition of the death of Vokodo. And he did so by singling out the player who wrote the backstory that would make the most sense, and who already had been contributing his previous character's backstory to the discussion in the episode, although not out of character or from Molly's perspective, but because Taliesin had the most experience with the Moonweaver of everybody before this. And one of the few people, although maybe the only person... No, I think Bo is trained in religion, but one of the few people trained in religion. He was giving them a guide to the Moonweaver. And Ashley brought up Molly's tattoos. So I think there was a text exchange that happened. And Matt decided to give them a little bit extra, and not only a little bit extra information, but also kind of a nudge.
Yeah.
That this thing is bad, and you're probably going to have to face it.
So, is the city that was chasing Vokodo the city that Lucian and Kree
We're trying to get to?
were trying to get to.
Yes.
That was my thought too.
But I don't...
And what are the odds they go back and get information from Kree?
98%.
Really? You think they make that connection?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean... Okay, Travis won't.
Laura May.
Laura, yeah.
Liam
And...
May.
Yes. And Marisha probably will too. Because she was very... Well, and Sam too. They were also sort of what the fuck when the Tabaxi recognized him.
Yeah.
So, and it will give Jester an excuse to talk to her dad. And they have to go to Zadash
Okay.
next. Or that's likely where they will go next when they're done here. So
I think they may be going to the Madrid coast first and then there. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But yeah, they decide to hunt the T-Rex,
Yes.
and Jester takes the lead. I don't think any of them are trained in survival. No, Ford would be trained in survival. Because I think sailors get athletics and survival.
No, they get athletics and perception.
That's right, Okay, so yeah, I don't know if any of them are trained in survival. And Jester said she had the best with a +5, and that's her wisdom modifier.
Yeah.
So
likely none of them are trained.
But
Yeah,
I don't...
It came down to her and Taliesin with the +5, and since it was TravelerCon,
they let her take the lead. Yeah. I don't think it's that hard to track a T-Rex.
you
But
just need a cup of water.
I don't think some of the information he gave was necessarily appropriate for untrained people. Like, I can see an untrained person following a 35-ton dinosaur's track through the jungle. That's easy enough. But to know how old they are, I thought was a little...
Yeah, well, she did taste the mud, so.
I loved it when she's like, he's old and how do you, I don't remember the word she used, but she's like, it's old and weak. It'll be easy. And Travis is like, we do not know that.
Yeah.
But we have Cad being MVP
Of the fight, yes. As Matt said, thank your clerics.
Kept Bo from getting one-shotted.
Yeah. Enfeebled it.
Canceled the crit.
Canceled the crit.
And
takes it from double damage back down to...
She took 34, 130. So he saved her over 100 damage.
Yeah.
Which goes back to sort of Jester's argument, Laura's argument, and a lot of people's argument for clerics not bothering to take heal spells.
Yeah.
Because you can take spells that stop damage, or prevent damage, or kill it faster, which is better than healing, because to heal that 100 damage is a lot more than a first level spell.
Yeah.
Or second level Ray of Enfeeblement.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that and a 6th level class ability.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we've seen the T-Rex attack the village. Only because the village...
I think if they were going to do the pilgrimage up the mountain, that would have been a potential threat.
Yeah. If they took the Traveler Con up the mountain, it would have been a potential threat, but in the city, I don't think it would have been.
Yeah. I think most of the creatures, especially in the near term, are going to be too used to the regular hunting parties coming out of Vo.
Yeah.
That they're not going to encroach.
They're animals. They know the territory boundaries and where they get into trouble.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been enough time without that status quo for them to test it quite yet.
Yeah. It just would have been character building for the next adventurers to come out of Vo, Rumble Cusp.
Yeah.
But since we're talking MVP, mention it. Sam is my episode MVP.
Absolutely. I had that down. We didn't even talk about MVP. You wrote it on your paper of notes while I was writing on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Just until the very end that we haven't talked about, he didn't really have a breakout part in the episode, but he was right there with everything the whole episode.
And see, I felt he shaped Traveler Con the most of everybody. He kept them on track and kept them away from the crazy, destructive stuff.
Okay.
In a way that Liam was trying to do, but that Caleb is ill-equipped to do.
I can see that.
So that's why I make him my MVP for the episode, because that early on, all the way through, and the best moment of the fight, arguably, was Veth falling out of the tree.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'm judging the fights differently now. I mean, yes, there's obviously the PC that contributes the most damage-wise or whatever, but I think now I have to include tension.
Yeah.
In my who's MVP of the fight, and it was because of the Yasha. It was because of the Vokodo fight. The only thing that was interesting in that fight was what was happening to Yasha for me. But yeah,
that's like the last fight our group had on Sunday. It was almost a throwaway fight.
Yeah.
Because our characters who were in the thick of it both passed the save that would have turned us against the party.
Yeah.
If that had happened, if either one of us had been turned, it would have been over for the party.
Yeah. But yeah, we got the Return of the Knoll.
Yes.
And another Campaign 1 Easter egg crossover. Kent Plucker.
Yep.
Part of Dr. Dranzel's troop. Jester has a convo with the Traveler saying, "You'll always be my best friend, no matter what."
And he replies, "For now."
Yes. And this is another of those Widow Jest moments. For me, it was. Because the timing and everything that had been going on, it was... Jester had made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is a turning point not only for the Traveler, but for her.
Right.
And for you Widow Jesters, I think this was the moment where she says to the Traveler, "You will always be close to my heart, but I'm going to pursue this other thing."
Mm-hmm.
So, and him saying for now, and that made her sort of, oh, and he's like, well, you're mortal. Things are fleeting. You know.
Yeah, that was his playoff anyway.
So you think it's more sinister than that?
I think cynical is a better term, but
Okay.
I think he has something up his sleeve for Traveler Con, other than this show.
I don't doubt that.
There's a reason why they settled on an island.
Where people were losing their memories.
Not even that. That's said and gone. Where, in the words of the vision, the volcano changed it, and it changed the island. The volcano that Vokodo landed in changed him. That's why he was modified. So we're on this volcano that can change powerful beings. During the zenith on a solstice, for this powerful archfey / demigod, it's more than just a get together to beat each other's dicks. That's all I'm saying.
More than just a circle jerk.
That's all I'm saying.
But that leads us finally to the heaviest moment of the episode.
Yes.
This moment hit me particularly hard because Friday I was going to pick up my daughter for our weekend together. So I was particularly vulnerable to the Veth and Vilya conversation.
I can imagine.
And Matt took the opportunity to make this the moment that Vilya left.
So let's talk about the conversation first.
Okay.
So she's over there in the corner, uncomfortable with the basically, college town shenanigans.
Yep. Keyleth before the stream.
Yes.
Essentially.
Veth, the other mother torn from her family, approaches her, talks. They talk about the kid.
I'm jealous. Why? Because you're gonna get to kiss that kid.
Yeah. Was Veth talking herself into or out of staying? And this goes back to what I said before they even arrived on Rumblecusp. She said she was going to see through, she had to at least see through Traveler Con, and then would make the decision on to whether to stay with her family or stay with the Nine. Is this where, are we coming up on where Beth leads? Especially after that moment, after Vilya's departure and what she sees. Being the other mom, that scene that she saw.
So, and it can go either way. And we don't know her outlook exactly because Keyleth was fine. Like she saw that her daughter was there.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably in a position of leadership with a large mantle and everyone sort of gathered around her. So she witnessed the child without the parent thriving.
But she also witnessed, Vilya had mentioned the child was just, early teens. And now it's a full-grown woman. She's also seeing the fact that because of adventuring, Vilya missed out on Keela's whole childhood. Yeah, she's fine, but Vilya missed everything.
Yeah. Parents make the choice all the time.
Yeah.
To be away from their children. For a myriad of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The most common of which is service to the greater good, country, faith, what have you. The second is economic. Veth has both of those reasons.
To stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree it could go either way, but that had to be a heavy moment for the character.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, like, no one else witnessed it in character, but, like, 3 of them were crying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that was the best way for Matt to narrate it too. They don't see the embrace; they just see the shock of recognition
And the rush toward.
Yeah, yeah, so good.
The only way it could have been better is if Vilya had waited and let them go with her so that Keyleth could give the staff to Caduceus.
But we have the seed.
Yes.
Of why Traveler Con is not going to happen in episode 108.
All right.
Because as Veth says...
Yes, we both have question marks in our notes about Traveler Con being 108. It is the night before.
Yes. Good point, Tom Nader. Yeah, Veth died and Luke thought she was dead. Well, that's true. She doesn't look.
Yeah.
Although, with 2 clerics and a bunch of diamonds, that's less of a risk now. They're golden gods now. Yes, the reason why Traveler Con is not going to happen in episode 108 is because they are going to take exception to her leaving without saying goodbye. Jester is going to message her and say, hey, I have all this platinum for you, and you didn't say goodbye, and, you know, whatever else she can get in 25 words, or 50, or 75, depending on how many spells she uses.
Well, so as far as the money goes, Beth is going to say she said to give it to, you know.
No, she's not.
You don't think so?
Huh. Well, she might say that and say, give it to me, I'll give it to her. And she's going to pocket that. And then she's going to find a way to get that to...
I love how most of the time when I'm optimistic about these characters, you're cynical. And when you're optimistic about these characters, I'm cynical.
Yeah. It helps us in our being right average. What this is going to be. So that will be delay 1 is what she left.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a sending.
Second thing that's going to be the major delay for not having Traveler Con in episode 108 is that fighting ring. Bo doesn't build a fighting ring and not fighting it.
Bo doesn't see a fighting ring and not fighting it.
And Yasha has proven a similar predilection. So,
to be fair, the last fighting ring she didn't fight in. She entered. She did not fight.
She fought. She got a beating.
She stood there and took it. She did not fight.
She smacked her around a little bit. She did 1 damage here and there. But it's gonna be.
I'm with you, Toffinator. I just want it to happen, but
Oh, I want it to happen too. I want it to happen very much.
we thought it was going to happen in 100. Then that got delayed, pushed back.
Yep.
It's been widely thought it was going to happen the last 3 episodes, which I've kept saying it was going to be pushed back and have been right. I'm finally at a 50-50 leaning towards it happening because we're like 12 hours away from this bullshit.
Yeah.
And he's coming up with valid reasons as to why it may not.
Yep.
100% valid.
There's also the fact that the final ceremony is only sort of roughly drawn out. The path to the top of the mountain isn't done yet. So they're going to have to go through that.
No, it is. They
No.
worked all week on it.
No, they didn't.
They
Matt?
skipped over some of it. He says throughout the week you can get.
No, I don't. Well, you might be right. I don't recall Matt saying that the path all the way up to the top was done. It was they got up the mountain, but
On the second day that they actually did stuff.
Yeah.
But he kind of hand-waved the rest of it. He said, by working all week, you can get this done.
okay, fair. All right. So if that's not a time sink, the big one is the fighting ring.
Mm-hmm. I agree with
And I don't know if they're going to organize a tournament. If they do, then that's going to be most of the episode. If they don't, maybe Yasha and Bo have a single fight each. But here's my wild speculation. Bo and Yasha are going to fight each other.
I don't think it's going to be a tournament, but if it is a tournament, it's because Veth is taking bets and setting up a wager system.
Or Ford wants to get in on it too. But in my head, in this case, my thought that led to this, Ford is not entering into this.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be a Bo Yasha thing, and it's going to lead to sex, and then their level up.
Okay.
But it's possible that this does not go beyond the break, and we do have the completion of Traveler Con. It's possible. I just think we've been fooled too many times. That's all I'm saying.
Don't get
Sorry.
cast any ideas.
Do you have anything?
No. I do think we will see Traveler Con. Again, I think I'm leaning towards it will happen because we're like 12 hours away at this point in game, 14, whatever. I don't think I think if we don't see Traveler Con, it's because they're intentionally stretching it out.
Fair.
It's intentional on the cast part.
I think they get the boats out.
I think that is something that could be a big time sink.
Yeah.
But that's going to be an after Traveler Con time sink.
Yeah.
Just because they don't, unless they take a level of exhaustion, they don't have the time to go there, get the boats out, and get back.
Yeah, and I think it'll wait till after the con anyway.
But I think we do see Traveler Con. It may be after the break, but we do see it.
Okay.
Putting ideas in their head. Normally, I would agree with you. I have made the joke before that an intern is watching us, at least. But being that these are now pre-recorded episodes, I think...
Are they now, though?
I don't know. That's a good point. They could. I mean...
Because with the break that they took,
Yeah.
they could be back to
They haven't made an announcement that they're live yet.
That's
So
true.
I'm going to go with the assumption that they are still pre-taped.
That's true.
Um,
So hopefully we will see you next week, where we will be hopefully talking about TravelerCon and the implications post it. And I think they're going to Zadash next. You think?
I think they're going to be dropping Beth off.
Oh, okay.
My gut says that she is leaving after TravelerCon, and she's going back to her family, and Sam's going to bring in a new character. Wild speculation, Paladin, Divine Soul Sorcerer, something that hasn't really been played, not stepping on anyone's toes, but still playing off people, of the Moonweaver. Because that's Sam.
We'll see.